Hi Michelle, how are you tonight? This is just going to be a really quick video, give you a quick idea of how this program works. You'll just open it up, and mine is actually set up to run on two computers, or two screens. I've got dual monitors, so I have a full 24-inch view of this image. When you download yours, this will be a full-size image in this window here, and you'll have another strip on the bottom. So anyway, what's nice about this program, unlike Lightroom programs like that, where you have to import images into the program and things like that, it works like a database, and I'm kinda not too fond of that way of working. Where this one here, when you open it up, you'll see your list of files on the side, and you can just select desktop, grab your folder wherever you have your images, and with the Nikon you can just select right off the card. You put your card into the computer, open the images right off the card, edit and save from there rather than importing all of the images, which is really nice. So anyway, when you open this up, again getting back to RAW, it's not actually an image. Of course we see what it looks like, or what it would look like if it was a JPEG. If I were to save this image right now, this is what it would be saved as. But it's not. It's only like a mathematical representation of what it will look like when it's saved, if that makes any sense. This is a fashion show that we did not too long ago, and we were faced with some really kind of hard challenges with lighting, because you can see one light right here, another one on the opposite side, and there's no possible way for us to be able to light all the way up this runway. So I had to depend on the fact that I'm shooting RAW, and you can see right here it's not bad. You know, the lighting right here is pretty decent. This is actually where she would stop and face the other strobes, and Brenda actually was working with me that day. She was shooting from the left hand side, and so I would get shots back here and they would be dark. As she come forward and got near this doorway, they would be pretty decent, and as she got very close to it, it would blow out. And I'll show you one image. There's an example of how it would blow her out. But shooting in RAW, I don't have to worry about the lighting changing like that, because like I mentioned in my text or my message to you, it's almost like holding my camera right now in my hand. And let me see if I can, well, that's about as big as I can make it here. I can see it on my other screen, but I'll just make a quick adjustment and you can see. As I drop down this exposure setting, you'll see the image begin to change. Let me see if I can get this a little bit bigger so you can see it. Bear with me. Oh, there we go. Okay, so when you open up your program, this is the way you're going to see it. And this program isn't the best. If you decide in the future to get Photoshop, you can actually use a program called Camera Raw, which is amazing. It's just an incredible program for editing RAW. Let me find a better image. Yeah, there's a perfect example. If this was a JPEG, and you know from experience that this image is gone, there's nothing you can do about this image. Now again, this isn't quite as good. It's not as good as Camera Raw, but in most cases you're not going to be dealing with circumstances like this right here. All I did is I grabbed the exposure compensation, same thing as the setting on your camera, and I just dragged it down about a stop and 2/3, and it's thinking here. You can see it start to drop down. Now if this was Camera Raw, if I went 2 stops, this would actually be pretty close to where I want it. And again, this is not the greatest, but it'd be a perfect starting point for you, since you're just getting used to software and what you can do with it and how to use it, unless you've already been working in the past. Yeah. I'm not going to be able to do it with this image because it's just too extreme. Let me see if we can find another one. Okay. There's a good typical example of an image that you would probably find yourself working with. Let me bring this back up to the middle. Sorry for the drag here. Now this is what this image actually looked like when it came out of the camera. Now it's just like holding your camera in your hand and adjusting your shutter speed, increasing your shutter speed by 2 stops, and that's the difference. Where again, if we go back to the middle where the image was actually captured, you can see again, if this is a JPEG image, this is gone. It's useless. May be able to do something with going black and white and then fill this in with some grain, you know, film response, and then be able to save the image that way. But you know, it's not always an option to be able to do that. And all I did is drag that slider over, 2 stops, boom, this image is done. If you wanted to come in here and change these shadows, like in Camera Raw, all you do is you grab a paintbrush and you can paint on the shadow and then control all of these settings, your sharpness, contrast, brightness, saturation, all of those things. You can control and adjust the shadow independently. You just paint on it with a brush. It's very simple, very intuitive. The program's very simple, and it's packed full of features and things that you can do with it. So again, going back to the beginning of what is RAW, it's not actually an image until you've brought it in, you've opened it up. There's nothing hard about it. A lot of people get nervous and they hear about RAW conversion. It's very, very simple. You open your pictures the same exact way I just did here. You make your adjustments. Let's say I want to increase sharpness a little bit. Brightness, of course, we're kind of doing that with exposure compensation, so we really don't need to play with that, but we could if we wanted to. See, that's kind of the way. So that's why I don't really care for this program. If you can see how drastic it is, but that's a good sample of what you would be doing if you were trying to adjust brightness with a JPEG image. See how the side, you know, the hair just gets lost. That's typical of the way a JPEG file responds to adjustments, major adjustments, brightness, contrast, things like that. In Camera Raw, you can just make all kinds of crazy adjustments and the picture won't get kind of crapped out the way that just did. One thing you'll see if you use Camera Raw, you'll see like shadow protection, highlight protection. And what that does is, if you're familiar with your graph, when you're looking at it, if you're all the way one way or the other, you'll notice that it's, you know, you're either blown out or it's too dark. Shadow protection and highlight protection actually pushes that automatically away from the edges, so it doesn't allow your histogram to go all the way to the edges, if you know what that is. Delighting is a setting that you've got built into your camera that you can use, and since we're in RAW, you actually have this setting available to you on your computer as if you're still holding your camera in your hand, taking the picture and saying, nope, that's not right, I want to jack that up one, which of course this isn't the case here. We were pretty good where we were at, but you have this adjustment available, whereas with a JPEG image you no longer have that available to you. Red eye reduction, it's not like editing eyes after the fact. When you turn on auto red eye, it's actually using the same information that was available when you took the picture to apply that red eye reduction, so it makes red eye much easier to deal with. You can do your cropping right here. You can do not a lot of things, but quite a bit. This is something else that I'm going to show you really, really quick. I don't want to make this too long. I don't know if you know what metadata is. That'll be available on a JPEG image or, you know, a RAW file, a TIFF file, any kind of file that you shoot with. Over on the side, you'll see it automatically brings up your information. It'll tell you the camera that you used, your lens that you were using, the focal length that you were actually set at, your focal mode, your area, you know, whether you were single or spot, whether you had your vibration reduction on, so you can kind of troubleshoot. You can go back to a bad image and look through your settings and say, there's the mistake I made. Maybe here, shutter speed. If this was the case, maybe I could have used the flash, tilted the camera to the right, increased my shutter speed to 250, and I probably would have had a good image if we weren't faced with a lighting problem. But you can get an idea of just looking through here how you can troubleshoot and learn from each picture that you take on how to improve. Which you do great, by the way. Anyway, so it's not like you need a ton of information, but this is a really great place to come back and look at an image and say, okay, where did I go wrong? What should I change? So anyway, I hope that helped. If there's any more questions, please don't hesitate for a second to say, yes, please, could you do me another video on something else? Always willing to do that. So have a great night, and let me know if this helps you. Thanks. Bye.